I want you to fill this out for yourself, reflecting on what does this mean for me? And these questions are going to do that. It's going to allow you to really reflect for yourself. Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we talk about real life and real systems so you can joyfully harmonize both home and work. I'm your host, Rebekah Scott. I'm a wife, mom, designer, coach, and lifelong systems thinker. And I help overwhelmed women build simple, sustainable rhythms that actually work for their real lives. Around here, we talk about priorities, pre-decisions, and practical tools that bring peace instead of pressure. Because you don't need more hustle, you need better systems and more grace. Today's episode is a good one. Hello, Encouragers. On this week's podcast, we're going to talk about the 5 questions you need to ask for the new year. Now, I realize it's not the new year. It's not the month of January, but I have a feeling this is hitting at the right time because hopefully you listened to last week's episode, which you don't have to by any means to listen to this one, but it was what the season is not asking of me. And once you have clarified that, and once you have given yourself permission to also know what the season is not asking of you, you can move on to this podcast with the 5 questions. Now, this came to me as I was planning for a retreat for a mastermind that I'm the leader of. And it was really awesome to hear everybody's answers after they could get really clear and journaled about them. So this podcast will have a guided worksheet that'll be provided in the show notes here. It'll also be available on our website, theencouragerpodcast.com. I do always encourage you, forward this message on to friends and family where you're like, whoa, these 5 questions could change the direction of our year because it is March and perhaps you got through January and you didn't set new goals this year. Maybe you're like, I need the month to kind of regroup. Totally fine. Or maybe you hit the ground running, but now you're not running so much and you realize you bit off too much. Or you are kind of feeling that momentum, but you're still feeling not necessarily stuck, but murky. And so this episode is going to help you work through the murkiness to get a little bit more clear so that you can, in fact, accelerate if you want to, or sustain. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, but it's going to make your year more clear after you ask these 5 questions. Now, you can do the downloadable version. You can print it. I'm a big fan of paper and pencil and using that form to really commit it to memory and commit it to journaling, but you can certainly do the digital version as well. So let's get started on the 5 questions. If goal setting has ever left you more tired than motivated, this episode is for you. You know how I feel about goals. I actually love them. I love the month of January because it feels like it, and I love the month of September. There's a little freshness in the air. But maybe it's as I've aged, or maybe it's as I've grown more wise. Sometimes they feel overwhelming as well, especially as big of goals as I have set. So I've been really trying to be good about reflecting on, what does this season call for? The new year often brings noise with it. It's the noise of goals. It's the noise of picking your word out for the year. It's the noise of what's the plan going to be. Maybe it's even expectations. So we end up feeling like a lot of pressure to maybe fix everything that we think is broken right now, carry everything from season to season all the time, decide everything right now so you can get started. It's exhausting. So today I want to take a little bit different approach. This is going to be reflective, not decisive. You know how decisive I am. But in this episode, I'm asking you to be more reflective and not so decisive. I'm asking you to approach this with a sense of calm and not frantic. You don't have to fill this worksheet out in the next 10 minutes of listening to the podcast. It's going to take a little bit longer than that. So I want it to be more calm for you. And I want this to be personal. I want you to fill this out for yourself, reflecting on what does this mean for me? And these questions are going to do that. It's going to allow you to really reflect for yourself, but it's also going to be really practical. Of course, I want you to be able to apply this. I want you to be able to use this. These 5 questions help you step into the new year with clarity instead of chaos. And they will work whether you're a business owner, whether you're a working mom, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a homeschooling mom, or whether you're in a blended season. These 5 questions will work across all of the roles and stages you are currently working on. Let's ask the 5 questions. Remember, I do have the reflective guide that you can download, but I'm going to give you some examples in the podcast, so you'll want to listen to this as well. Number 1, one thing I want. What is one thing you want this year? Now, this is a desire, not an obligation. This is not about what you should want. We're not even going to try and use the word should. It's about naming desire without any guilt. And the desire, the one thing that you want, will clarify some of the direction for the new year. So ask yourself this: if no one else had an opinion, what do I actually want this year? What is it? Take some time, fill it out on the worksheet. I'll give you an example for myself. And I've got a lofty one, and then I've got a little bit more practical one. One thing that I want for this year is to be fully known. I think it is something, and that one seems a little bit like spiritualized, so I don't mean for it to sound like that, but I did break it down for myself personally, which nobody needs to know all of that because it's kind of probably too personal. But I love the idea that God knows me. He knows every single thing about me. I do a fairly good job of being open, of course, in my marriage and with my children, but I still think I'm pretty guarded in things. And so I need to work with that with my relationship with God, because I feel like there are still parts of me where I'm like, ugh, that's a bad one. I don't even want to think about it. I just want to distract myself and all of that. And so I'm really trying to get into my Bible more. I'm trying to learn more about my personality type that was uniquely formed by him by using loads of different resources. I want to be fully known so that I can be more vulnerable in my faith walk with him and just allow myself more freedom to be okay with who I am. So that's all I have as an answer for that, but that is something that I want this year. And the other thing that I want that's a little more practical is freedom. I discovered last year with having less staff that the thing I loved the most was the freedom, not to sit in meetings, not to make sure that I was following up and managing and all those things. I really want freedom this year as well. I want freedom to create whatever I want. I want freedom in my time management, less about being as structured as I has always been. Like I even structure in the freedom time, but really being free during that time and not putting a bunch of guilt on myself for trying to do things. I'm trying to be better at being. And I even want the freedom to be able to rest when a season calls me to rest and not to build. So those are the two things that I want. Remember to ask yourself, if no one else had an opinion, what do I actually want this year? And that's for question number one. One thing I want, ... Okay, question number two. One thing I need. This is like, do you need support? Do you need a resource? Do you need a boundary? What is one thing you need? Needs are not weaknesses. And they might look like help. So ask yourself, well, who could help me? It might look like margin. So I want you to ask yourself, when could I have some margin? It might look like systems. And which one of them I would ask? I coach on the 5 system, the me, food, home, work, and family systems. Do you need something in those systems? And which one is it? And maybe one thing you need is to say no. Oh, what? Yeah. And how are you going to go about doing that? So ask yourself, what would make this year more sustainable, not just successful? We tend to, when we're thinking of the goal plan, like what's going to make this year the best year yet and all the success and everything. But what would actually make this year more sustainable? So what's one thing you need to do that? For me personally, the one that I'm going to share, because I have a lot of them, is clearer direction. I really need clear direction in both my brands and my home and my personal life. And so one way that I'm trying to get clearer direction is to try and get more wise by reading my Bible and worshiping. And so I actually track how many times I worship. I'm tracking how many times I read my Bible. I want to hear the Holy Spirit's voice more clearly, giving me better direction for both my professional and my personal life. So one thing I need this year is clear direction. And the only place I want to get that from is our Father. What does that look like for you? Now, mine is a little bit more lofty, clearer direction. Yours could be very practical. You could be like, this year, I need a cleaning lady. Perfect. I love that you just named that. What is one thing you need? It doesn't have to be over romanticized or lofty. It can just be so practical. And one other example that is just very practical for this question is I need to revamp our food system. I don't have Gus in the house anymore, who's my football player that's always trying to gain weight, but I've become really aware of the foods that we put in our mouth. Now, I do mostly whole food cooking, but we're normal Midwesterners. Like we do cream of mushroom or cream of chicken and that kind of stuff. And the big one that I'm going to do a revamp for, one thing I need this year is to revamp my food system in our bread department. I've become aware of just buying bread off the shelf and buying flour off the shelf may not be the best decision for my family anymore. We have some skin issues going on, and I wonder if I cleaned up, because I love baking, I wonder if I cleaned up my food system with flour in particular, if that would help us. So that is one thing that I'm going to work on this year because I think my family really needs it. Question number 3, one thing I will cancel. Ooh, this is a fun one, right? It's permission-based subtraction. Taking away. I want you to declare this for yourself, and this one I want you to put on the fridge. One thing I will cancel. So this is growth often requires subtraction. If you're going to grow, you know that when you try to carry everything with you as you're trying to grow, it gets heavier and heavier. But if you offload something because you're concentrating on another thing, you get better at it because you can move clear because you're not carrying everything with you. So what's the one thing that you will cancel this year? And canceling is not quitting. It's choosing. It doesn't mean you're quitting it forever. It's just for a season. So be really clear. What's the one thing that you want to cancel? And this question, I promise you, will free up emotional and mental bandwidth. It is so freeing to ask this one. So ask yourself, what am I doing out of habit, guilt, or fear, but not alignment? Not what you know needs to happen for the goals that you've probably already set out to conquer, right? But you set out to conquer them alongside all the other stuff, right? So what are you doing out of habit? Maybe it's out of guilt. Maybe it's out of fear of disappointing people, but it's not out of alignment of what you know you want for the new year. Hey, encouragers, hope you're enjoying this episode. We'll be right back after this short break. This episode of The Encourager is brought to you by Rebekah Scott Designs, where we create thoughtfully designed purses and accessories that support your real life, not just your outfit. Every bag is designed with intention, handcrafted right here in South Dakota, and built around the belief that beauty and function should work together. From custom fabrics and linings to leathers, zippers, and really cool features, you get to design a piece that truly fits your life. Visit designyourownbag.com to create your own custom bag and use code ENCOURAGER for $10 off your purchase. An example for myself that I canceled was the cohorts. I enjoy doing that. You've heard me talk about them on the podcast here. I enjoy doing them, but I'm going to cancel them because what I realized through a lot of prayer and actually testimonies and really working through what is best for my Encourager brand, the one-on-one coaching kept coming to the top. That's where I feel the most impact for women because I can get to know their own unique personality, their own unique way that God made them, which by the way, I can never know as much as God, but it helps me so much really tailor systems to make an impact in their professional and their personal lives than it is in a group setting. I still have a few group setting things that I do, but I decided to pause the cohorts for a while I really dig into this one-on-one coaching and making the personal impact for women. So of course, here I am. If you're interested, you can do a free discovery call on our website. I would love to work with you guys one-on-one. So the question number 3 is one thing I will cancel, and asking yourself, what am I doing out of habit, guilt, or fear, but not alignment? You're going to love filling this one out. Maybe it's awkward at first, but as soon as you name it, you'll be like, I did it. I canceled it. Make the decision. Question number 4, one thing I will sustain. So this is saying what's quietly working? What is something that you actually just want to keep at? Not everything needs improvement every year. And faithfulness often hides in the mundane. I don't know about you guys, but I love the mundane. I think it's because we do move so fast and have so many multi-passionate kids and all these things that there is nothing like a load of laundry that helps me relax. And if you just wanted to punch me in the face, I totally get that. But even doing the dishes just feels right. It's mundane. Even the laundry, I don't know. There's something about the mundane that just feels right. And also this question, one thing I will sustain, honors progress. You're going to keep at it. And progress is a beautiful thing. So I want you to ask yourself, what's already working that I don't want to lose? Maybe you just started it last year. Maybe you've been doing it for 20 years, but what is one thing you're working on that you want to sustain? So for me, one thing that has just worked numerous times, you've heard me mention it oh my gosh, dozens and dozens of times, is the Honey Huddle. That's a free resource on the encouragerpodcast.com. It's a meeting I have with my husband monthly. It works. We are going to sustain it. We get on the same page. We make progress on dreams and goals. I love the Honey Huddle. And I'm also going to sustain my weekly agenda, which is also a free resource on the website right here, encouragerpodcast.com. We'll put it in the show notes here. I just love that I don't pick up a planner. I love that at the end of the year, I'm not trying to find the best new planner and I'm trying to fill it all out and all that. I'm like, no, I use one sheet of paper and I get to throw it away at the end of the week. And I have quite a few podcasts that I recorded on it. It's a free resource for you. I will definitely be sustaining that this year. Question number 5, one thing I will track. Oh, you know how I feel about tracking. Also, I have a free resource called the Habit Tracker on the encouragerpodcast.com. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself. It's just that I create resources because I record them and I think you should use them. So this is the smallest metric that really matters to you this year. What is one thing you're going to track? Tracking brings awareness, not pressure. Okay, so if I said tracking and you glazed over and you're like, no, Becca, I don't want to track anything. No. Tracking is actually helping your brain and your body, everything, become aware of things. It's not necessarily about pressure. It's just becoming aware. If you miss a couple X's, who cares? That's not what it's about. It's about being aware of what you're trying to change. So choose a metric that guides your decisions for the new year, keeps you honest, and doesn't dominate your life. Like I said, this is not about the X's and O's, which I love the X's and O's and I love tracking, but this is really just giving yourself a general idea of what you're making progress on and what you're paying attention to. So ask yourself, what number or habit tells me if I'm moving in the right direction? So what would that be for you? Again, you can download the Habit Tracker. You could just put this in your planner. You can put it in your weekly agenda. But what is one thing that you want to track so that you can see the impact that you're making with it or the progress? So example for me, if you guys knew all the things I tracked, you'd be completely bored. But I track so many things. This year, I'm tracking worship. And I am doing that. I know that sounds like I don't know what it'd be, anti-Christian, anti-spiritualism, I don't know. But I like to track my worship to know, again, am I being fully known? Am I asking God if I'm referring back to him for clear direction? I could go on and on. But I love tracking the worship so then I don't just systemize it, which I have in a way. I know when I pray in the morning. I know when I pray at lunchtime. I know where my prayer mat is, all those things. But I'm tracking when I am worshiping to know, like, am I really going to him for everything? And when did I have bad days this week? And when were okay days? And when were days where I surrendered? I think this awareness of worship is really making me awareness of his presence. So that's why I am tracking it. And a silly one that I am tracking amongst others that I'm willing to share is that I am tracking my pull-ups and my chin-ups again this year. That exercise for your back and the overall body health is huge. So I'm really back into doing pull-ups and chin-ups to create muscle for my delicately aging body. Okay, you guys, asking these 5 questions will be really important because without asking them, without any clarity, you end up drifting, which is kind of typical of the month of March. If you think about it, when this is coming out, like you're drifting a little bit away from your goals, or you end up overcommitting. Raise your hand if you're like, oh yeah, I said I wasn't going to, and here I am, overcommitting. And then we also end up confusing motion with meaning. Just because you're making progress on it doesn't mean, if you haven't asked these 5 questions, that it's actually effective or efficient or anything you wanted to do anyways. So asking the 5 questions first will give you more clarity. And when you ask these 5 questions, your decisions will get lighter because you've clarified what you actually want. Guilt will lose its grip because you've already clarified for yourself. And peace and purpose will actually grow together after you have asked these 5 questions. It is possible. This isn't about controlling the year. There's no way we can do that. But it is about aligning it and being purposeful with it. Clarity will create the confidence to move into these new goals, new habits, new projects, new whatever, because you have been clear about it. And that will create a supernatural confidence inside of you. And you'll exhale and you'll smile a little bit and you'll hum a little bit because you're clear on what you want this year to look like. So you can definitely just write these 5 questions down. You can re-listen to the podcast, or you can grab the download in the show notes here. And then do please share on social media with us on Instagram or Facebook, the Encourager Podcast. I want to know, what are some of your answers? When I went over this with my mastermind, it was so fun for each of the women individually to claim what they are canceling. That was a really fun one. And then also the things that they wanted to track, because it clues me in as the coach of like, okay, that is an important thing to you. Tell me more. Why is that important to you? Because that is clues into what God is building inside of them. It's so awesome. 5 simple questions that will supercharge your year, not from a productivity standpoint, but from a clarity standpoint. So I can't wait to see you guys share it again on Instagram if you can. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because He's got us. If this podcast has encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe and leave a 5-star review. It truly helps more women find these conversations. And if you're listening thinking, I don't need more motivation, I need someone to help me figure out my actual life, that's exactly what I do. Through Encourager Academy and one-on-one coaching, I help women build personalized systems for their home, work, and life rhythms. No cookie-cutter routines, but structures that fit your unique personality, your season, and your capacity. You can explore the Academy or book a free discovery call at theencouragerpodcast.com. Let's take your next small step forward together.